with the Holocaust, we're talking about millions. So it is such an incomprehensible part of our society that I think we owe it, everybody owes it, to try and understand why such a thing did happen, how it happened, and obviously with the caveat that it should never happen again, which of course never worked. I think it was the brutality again of a system that found human life irrelevant, and that it was perfectly justifiable again in such a microcosm as the camps to disregard individuals as human beings and regard them as somehow some kind of cipher, some kind of animal species or something. And image, I think, is the most effective and most dramatic way of putting across to a second person. Anyone who's computer literate can press a button and see any of this stuff in any case. It doesn't take much to find it. And see it without the context, and it's kind of pornography as far as I'm concerned. If you see it in context, then it has a real value in terms of lessons learned and real people, and it's their families and all the rest of it, because it's traumatizing and it's the shock of the imagery that is important in order to put across the whole madness of genocide and trying to get to grips with it that way around. And I think it's absolutely fantastic that one can really sense, feel and understand a genocide. Act of killing is through the eyes of the perpetrators, and Look of Silence is really more the victim and a story of victims finding out what happened to their family. Both of those films have a skill in, through the director Josh Oppenheimer, of being able to put across the horror of genocide without a single victim, without a single dead body. There is no Holocaust footage. There exists 1 minute, 52 seconds of Holocaust footage. That's it. First edit through, almost 50% of the atrocity footage I had in, I took out because it wasn't necessary, and the shock was there as it is. I got to a point where I couldn't judge anymore because I'd seen so much. I'd sat through an endless archive of material that I would hope never to have to watch again, and I couldn't work out. I had to have people come in and look at it fresh from outsiders to have a look at the film to see if it was too much. And the essence of the film, I think, lies with the footage and characters in that footage who are still here or who were behind the camera. I personally find the strongest bit of the film for me was the initial entry into Bergen-Belsen, into the camp, where you had a soldier who was going in, recounting. You had people in the camp on film that soldiers were broadcasting, remembering that entry of the British coming in, none of whom had met, but all of whom met on film. So the ability to recount something from 70 years ago and see the imagery of that being reenacted, I found very compelling. And there she was on film as a young girl. When I started getting to grips with some of the individuals and talking to the individuals, it was a pretty humbling experience to talk to incredibly articulate people in their 80s and 90s who had spent their life still. Some of them had never spoken about it, others had, but they had clearly digested and tried to find explanation themselves.
I thought as time went by, it might leave me. I wanted to forget.
As you get older, you want justification also for what has happened.
You spend years preparing yourself to die, and suddenly you're still here.
But it never does leave you.